Okay, so we've had a look at magnetism and also at electromagnetism and how we can use magnetism to make something move. And in particular, we can make our starter motor move. So what we need to look at next is what are the components that we have in a circuit and what are the components that sit inside of our starter motor. The first thing we're going to have a look at is, well, let's just have a look to see what components there are in it, because there really isn't a lot of components. First of all, and I'm going to have to move out of the way, first of all, we have the battery. So the battery is the part that supplies the power source for the starter motor and the starting system to actually operate. The next component that we have in there is our ignition switch. And of course, we have to switch the ignition on and then switch it to start before releasing it back to the ignition part. As well as having an ignition switch, and the ignition switch can be a switch, now it can be a push button, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We then also have in our system the starter motor. And as well as having the starter motor, as well as having the starter motor, as if it's an insignificant part. Obviously, we have the starter motor. That part, that's the key part of the actual system. That's the bit that all these operations and all these other components are making work. But without the other component, the starter motor obviously doesn't work either. And the starter motor, when it operates, that then turns the ring gear, which is on the back of the engine. And when we put that all together, we have the starting system. So from over here, we have the battery, which goes to the ignition switch. Also, it goes to the starter motor. And then the starter motor, when it's operated, turns the ring gear on the back of the engine. And hopefully, the engine starts. What we're going to have a look at first of all, though, components inside of the starter motor to begin with. In particular, we're going to look at these components here. So we're going to have a look at the solenoid, the shift lever, the pinion, the armature, the commutator, the brushes, and the field magnets, which sometimes aren't just magnets, sometimes they're electromagnets. So we're going to have a look at this first. Have a look down at the bottom, answer the questions in your workbook, and answer the questions online if you're doing it online.